If you're a new player, Valheim can be daunting. Lucky for you, the starting biome, the Meadows, is the perfect place to get your understanding of how everything works. So let's dig in with the Valheim Meadows guide. When you load in, you'll find yourself in the circle of boss stones. Find the red circle stone and activate it to find the location of Eikthyr on your map. This is the first boss, so you'll want to start heading in that direction. On the way, you'll want to pick up some sticks and stones off the ground so that you can make a stone axe that will allow you to chop down some trees, but can also double as your first weapon for those pesky greylings or whenever the boars start getting a little angsty. When you're close enough to the Eikthyr altar and find where you want to settle, you can start prepping your new home. To start, craft a hammer in your inventory. A hammer is how you will build all of the structures in Valheim. To really get started on your home, you'll need to place down a workbench. From there, you can begin to build out your home. Don't get carried away with making something grand. The early game structural integrity will limit you significantly. A simple shack is all you need. I like to start with a simple roof and wall layout. Part of the requirements for having a home is having a nearby fire in order to sleep in your bed. So I like to place one in a corner of the house, but be careful of smoke. You can build a simple chimney to prevent smoking yourself out, but put an angled roof at the top to prevent rain. In this build, I just put a small fire outside that was lightly covered. Really, whatever works for you. Inside the house, you'll want a bed, a workbench, and maybe some chests for storage. On the top of your fire, you'll want a cooking spit for cooking meat after all that hunting. All of this together should register your building as a shelter and have a comfort level. After a bit of waiting, you'll get the rested buff, which is absolutely critical in Valheim. This buff gives you plus 50% health regeneration, plus 100% stamina regeneration, and plus 50% XP gain. Playing without this buff will make it feel like you're actually weakened, so always come back home to rest. Now that you have your home set up, you'll want to go out hunting, starting with pigs. Since they'll charge you when you're close, they'll be an easy kill with your axe. Just give them a good bonk and they'll go down quick. Make sure to pick up their leather scraps and raw meat. And those trophies, they're not super valuable early on, but you can keep them for later if you would like. If you're struggling to find pigs, keep an eye out for these glowing standing stones. Some of them act as early game pig spawners. Another thing to keep an eye out for is flint. Flint will spawn by water in the meadows. Whether that's an ocean, a river, or a pond, you'll likely find some both in the water and just above the waterline. Early on, always pick up flint for upgrades. Speaking of, let's talk upgrades. Having leather scraps will now let you build a crude bow and arrows as well as a shield, both of which you'll absolutely need on your adventures. Perhaps less noticeable will be the ability to upgrade your workbench though. In the meadows, there are two main upgrades you can get for your workbench, the chopping block and the tanning rack, each adding one level to your workbench, allowing you to use additional materials to upgrade your existing items. Now that you have bow and arrows, you can easily hunt deer as long as you nail down the aim. The arrow will drop, so aim well above the deer to account for this, and collect your prize. The deer meat will make great food, the hide will provide a significant upgrade to your workbench, and even armor it if you get enough. And then their trophies are required for the boss fight, and a good weapon later on, so definitely keep them. Another resource you want to hunt for now that you have your bow are bees. You can find beehives in some of the scattered ruins that you'll come across. Always check them for some loot, or more importantly, check for those bees. If you run into a hive, keep your distance and shoot it down to avoid being poisoned. Once it's destroyed, go and pick up the queen bee. This will allow you to create your own beehives and harvest your honey over time, which is a fantastic food early on. Let's take a moment though to talk about food. In the meadows, there are 6 foods you can obtain: honey, raspberries, mushrooms, boar meat, neck meat, and deer meat. A common misconception about food is that it'll work like other games where you eat to heal. In Valheim, food doesn't immediately heal you. Instead, it determines how much health and stamina you have, but doesn't replenish them. But there's a catch. Not all food provides both health and stamina equally. Most offer more of one or the other. Generally, meats are for health, while plants are for stamina. Of that list I provided earlier, boar, neck, and deer meat are all health foods, and you can see if I eat them, my health bar shoots right up to 110, but my stamina still remains reasonably low. Inversely, if I eat honey, raspberries, and mushrooms, my stamina jumps up, but my health remains low. For this reason, it's essential to find a balance for whatever task you're doing. Generally for the meadows, running boar meat, deer meat, and honey will get you pretty far. Once you're geared up with weapons, food, and the rested buff, you're ready to take down the biome boss, Eikthyr. To start this fight, you go over to Eikthyr's altar and place 2 deer trophies down as a sacrifice to summon him. You do this by putting the trophies on your hotbar and hitting the respective button on the altar, and the summoning animation will ensue. The fight itself can seem intimidating, but it's actually reasonably easy. Eikthyr has 3 attacks. Once you know how to avoid them, it becomes cake. The first is a simple melee attack. Eikthyr will rear back its antlers and quickly push them forward into you. This is easily dodged with a Dark Souls combat roll by holding up your shield and hitting your jump button while pointing your controls in the direction you wish to roll. The second attack is lightning strike in a line. You'll know this attack is coming when, well pointed at you, Eikthyr gets up on its hind legs just move away from the direction they're pointing and you'll avoid that lightning blast easily. Finally, the last attack is an AoE lightning blast centered around Eikthyr. Like the line blast, Eikthyr will rear up on its hind leg, but this usually occurs when they're not pointed at you. To avoid this, just run away from the boss to get out of the blast radius. Knowing these attacks, you can easily take down the boss yourself or with a team by avoiding the attacks and just going in for some hits whenever possible. Don't waste stamina chasing after the boss, let them come to you. If they're focused on an ally, send some arrows from a distance and switch to an axe when they get up close again. Eventually, you'll beat Eikthyr and have the moment to celebrate your win. The boss drops some antler shards and their head trophy. The trophy you can take back to spawn to mount on the boss stone for the Eikthyr Forsaken Power, which when activated will allow you to drain stamina slower when sprinting. The antler shards are a huge drop. These can be turned into pickaxes, which will be critical for progressing in the next biome, the Black Forest. But we'll save that for the next episode. Thank you so much for watching our Meadows Biome guide and stay tuned for the upcoming Black Forest.